Are you living your life's purpose? Do you know what your purpose is in life? Or are you one of these people that struggle to find your purpose? What is my purpose? How do I find what my purpose is? Well, that's a really important question. And tonight on the Hangout with Penny show, I have a really amazing guest co-host with me again tonight who is going to help us, and he's going to invite us to ask ourselves some questions on how we can find out what our purpose is and why it's important for us to be living on purpose. So it's going to be a fun show. I'm excited. So you're watching episode 55 of the Hangout with Penny show. My show is a weekly show, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern, every Friday night. So thank you very much for making a habit. And for those of you that this may be the first time tuning in, my name is Peddie, and I am a law of attraction facilitator, trainer, coach. I have been doing these hangouts for 55 times. Some of you may know me from the Hangout with Michael show. Some of you may know me from the Hangout with Geoffrey show. Some of you may know me from my Facebook page. And maybe this is the first time that you're seeing me. So I hope you'd stay with me tonight and listen in, because I really have a really important show tonight. And my guest, Geoffrey explained, he's going to come out and introduce himself in just a moment, and then we're going to get on with this really important topic. But before we do that, I just want to mention to you that I have a G+ community right here. It's a place where we hang out when we're not hanging out here on Friday nights. And in that community, I have 7 tips for abundance, 7 tips for greater abundance. It's in there waiting for you. And I have some programs coming up, and I have one starting in November. And this show is going to really help us find out a little bit more on what our purpose is, and it's going to help me be able to help you more. So I'm excited about the show. And each week, one of my favorite things to do is introduce you to the wine of the week. And this week, I'm going to introduce you to a brand new wine. It's not even on the shelves yet. So it's introduced from the Niagara region, and it is Longhand. There we go. It's a Merlot Cabernet. It's a VQA, and I'm going to cheers to all you, because I really appreciate you being with me tonight and my guest, and it's going to be a fun show. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay. Now, one other thing before we get started, cheers, Geoffrey, is what people are saying. So I'm going to read a few comments from last week's show, and that was episode 54, Finding Me, a Discovery of the Truth. And my guest that's on tonight, he was my guest co-host last week too, and it was a powerful show. Tana Marshall, she says, wow, amazing show. Thank you both for being so open. I can't tell you how many times I gasped while you were both sharing your stories. I got so much out of this, and I'm sure many others did too. Thanks, Tana. Troy Davidson, this sounds like a great show. I'll have to watch it on the replay. There are many things I like. Oh, I'm going to read that. That's for this show's question. So hang on. We'll come back to that one. Monique Jackson, she says, hi, Penny. Great show. Thanks so much to both of you for sharing your stories from the heart. This will help a lot of people who may be going through the same. Geoffrey has a powerful quietness that really gets to the point and gets it across. I am so grateful that people are waking up to the fact that no matter how a child comes into the world, the child deserves to be a whole person and to know the truth. I am grateful that people are letting go of the old stigmas and just loving that child. Your family is the people who love you. I know, that was really great. So this is episode 54. It was a really powerful show. So if you haven't saw that yet, you might want to get see that, hangoutwithpenny.com. Hey, hang on a minute. So you see me?
Yeah, I can see you, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to put this on. We don't want that one. We want this one. There we go. Hangoutwithpenny.com. And one more comment from June Kellogg. So moved by this show. How magnanimous and generous for you both to share so authentically. Thank you, Geoffrey. You exhibit such dignity. Thank you, Geoffrey. It was a powerful show, and I really, really appreciate you being open and sharing this with us, your story last week. So now, I've been mentioning your name, so now we're going to see your face. Geoffrey X. Lane, hi.
Hello. Hello.
Come out and introduce yourself for the people that may just be seeing you for the first time.
Hello. So I'm Geoffrey X. Lane. What can I tell you? It's always one of those things where we talk about what we do and where you can find us. And most people know me because I've spent a great deal of time training and helping people express themselves with authenticity, with energy, with not only the sort of the emotional content, but also with understanding how it works and what the structures are. But that's only one part of me. I also coach people on a regular basis and help people that way. I also for 10, 11 years was involved in a program called The Pursuit of Excellence and the Wall and the Advancement of Excellence, which was designed to help people find themselves, find their purpose, and actually go about actually creating the life that they wanted. And I left that a while ago to pursue training other people in different ways. And I spent a lot of time, so that was 95, 96. I spent a lot of time thinking about and working on, well, what is purpose? You know, it seemed that it was too complicated, that it was getting very cerebral, that people were having trouble with it. And yet I met people constantly that seemed to be naturally in their purpose. So I was talking to Penny after the show last week and talking about the fact that I've been working on my next book, which is called Life Energy. And the next thing I know, here I am talking about life energy. That's the power of Penny. So one of the, given that I'm in the midst of writing it and some parts of it have been edited, I want to read you the opening statement from it, and then I want to talk about that.
Yay!
So excuse me while I read it to you. Life energy. Those who risk nothing become enslaved and forfeit their freedom. They simply cannot experience the full range of life energy. To change, to grow, to love is the greatest risk of all, and yet bringing the greatest rewards. For only those who risk are truly free. Only those who risk get in touch with and release and have their life energy. So that's a pretty cerebral kind of thing, you know. Well, what's this life energy? It's have you ever met people? And this is a question I want to ask you, Penny. Have you met people that just feel engaging and you're just drawn to them, you're attracted to them, they just seem different from the other people that you meet? Have you ever met those kind of people?
Oh yes, absolutely. You can feel it. You can feel it, and it's just like, wow, I want to know more about this person, or I want to be close to this person. So yeah, absolutely. But I've also met people the opposite as well. So
yes, me too. I've met people who are opposite from that. It's almost like they're prickly and dark and don't know.
Geoffrey, I'm just going to go to the YouTube comments here. I want to read something because I think it's pretty pertinent to what we're going to talk about, and you may be able to help this. There's a question here for you. Oh, Linda Gannon, she says, hi, Penny and Geoffrey, love your hair. Oh, thanks, Linda, I just got it done today. Troy Davidson, so he says, this sounds like a great show. I'll have to watch it on the replay. There are so many things I like to do. I find it hard to settle on what to do. I hope this show will help. And that is so true. When I read that, it's like, oh my gosh, like, how do we find our purpose? What is there a difference between purpose and passion? Do you need to have passion to have purpose? Do you need to have purpose to have passion? Where's the correlation between purpose and passion? And how, like, how do we, what's
Well,
some
I kind of, that's exactly the kind of tension or stress that you just talked about. You know, am I passionate about something, or is this my purpose? And I see so many people get caught in it. And on one level, I want to say your purpose is an evolving story. So it's not one thing. And if you think about life like a river, imagine that all rivers have a spring source or a life energy source, which bubbles up from the ground and eventually collects more and more, gets bigger and bigger, and becomes a river, and then moves to the ocean. So life energy, or purpose and passion, or doing what feels good, or how do I choose, is really about that. It is, you see, I actually believe that people know their purpose. They know it. It's just that they're afraid to admit it, that they're afraid to actually say, this is what it is. This is my purpose. Because if they do say that, then they have to commit to it. Then they have to work it. Then they have to live it. So what happens is they don't admit it. They don't say, yeah, this is my purpose. This feels right. So instead of following their heart or their soul, they follow their mind. And the mind is a tricky thing. It's very tricky. You know, I'm by definition quite analytical and philosophical. So if I read one piece of philosophy, I'm interested and influenced by that. If I listen to a good friend and get their opinion, I tend to be influenced by that. But what I'm not, if I listen to my heart and my soul, that's different. That's an inner thing. That's an inner source. And you see, I think that you know when you're in your life energies, when your physical energy, your emotional energy, your heart and your body are all in alignment. And that's what I call life energy. So it's not an intellectual process on one level, and you can get in touch with it. However, most of us don't know how to do that. We've lost the source. If you think about, well, okay, the Fraser River in British Columbia. I mean, it's a big river. To actually find the source of it, you have to go up, way up into the interior of British Columbia to find where the source is. Well, if you're kind of getting on in years like me, 70, that source is 70 years ago. How do I find it? How do I get in touch with it? You know, somebody mentioned every child needs, right? You were reading a quote and it sort of triggered in my mind, you know, every child needs the truth. Well, actually, children don't know lies.
That's right.
They're born with the truth. You're born with the truth about your purpose. It's just you're forgotten. And part of the challenge is kind of sorting through the rubbish and the jewels that you've picked along the way and all the other conflicting information, and getting back to uncovering yourself.
You've
So
brought up so many things I'd like to say. First of all, if you're just joining, you're watching Hangout with Penny, and my guest co-host is Geoffrey X Lane. I just want to say, Geoffrey, Debbie Talbert's in the house. She's watching, sipping her wine, hanging out with us on Friday night, so she says hello. So hi, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
I just want to touch on something where you said that many of us we have our purpose, but we don't live it. We don't. And something came to me when you said that, and it was like, well, many times we squash our own purpose, our own desires, our own, what we feel, that life energy that we have, we push it away because of what other people, what society, maybe what our parents, or what their purpose, or what they think our purpose should be. So we let our purpose go. Is that right?
Absolutely. You see, when you first hit the planet and you wake up, your life energy is there. It's, I mean, you really don't have to tell a baby how to be a baby. I mean, it's kind of like one of those self-evident truths. Well, come on, Geoffrey, everybody knows that, but we forget it. You watch, I mean, this whole process for me started watching my granddaughter grow up. When she was very little, she knew exactly what was going on and who she was. But as she's grown up, and now that she's getting to be a young woman in her teenagers, I see that the challenges are greater and greater. And the older that we get, and the more feedback, the more tests, the more knowledge, the more information that we get, the confusing that it gets. Because you see, the thing is that if you'll pay attention to where your energy is and how you feel in that moment, you'll start to get in touch with your life energy. But it means paying attention to yourself in a very mindful way, in a very quiet way. But most of us are not quiet. Most of us have sort of fallen into what I call the frenzied habits of Hollywood, where we've become a society of self-promotion and aggrandizement and ego-driven and product-driven. And, you know, so we lose, not only do we lose touch with our life energy, we don't even know how to show up as ourselves. We show up as someone else. And it's sort of sorting out through that, right? But most people, if you can get them quiet and give them some time, they can actually find it. Now, you know, it's pay attention to when you're happy. I don't mean excited. I don't mean stimulated. I don't mean pressured, or when you're achieving, or when you've won something. When you're happy, right? When you are flooded with joy, that's the clue. That's the clue. When you're flooded with joy naturally, pay attention to it. And then notice what you've been doing. Pay attention. Pay attention to yourself. It's a form of self-care, which we were talking about earlier, but it is paying attention to yourself, but not in the normal sense of, well, okay, I've got to put my lipstick on, or I've got to shave, or I should comb my hair, or which shirt should I wear, or what dress do I pick. It's paying attention to the inner energy that's floating around in you.
I love that. I'm just going to go back to Troy's question. So he said, because I've been like this too, where I've had so many things. I want to do this, I want to do that, and I think this is the right path, and it's like, oh, maybe this is it. And so what kind of suggestion would you give us to be able to quiet ourselves down, to really become aware of what what's something we could do
So one of the things I want to say right away, there is no right path. There isn't a profound path for you. There isn't something written up in the heavens that if you can reach, it will drop down to you as a great big flash of light and you'll go, my purpose.
Oh.
It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. What it is that if you pay attention to yourself, it's a quiet message. It's a little thing that just sort of bubbles up that you feel good, that you're probably helping someone else or being in service or just being quiet. And because we think that, you know, life purpose is supposed to be profound, but here's the secret. And of course, I love that movie, but that deluded a lot of people.
Yes.
Because it kind of says that there's this profound thing you're supposed to. One of the best illustrations I know is a Buddhist story of a lama, of a Buddha, a teacher, and they were tending a garden at a monastery, and a would-be student started asking them questions. Oh, where can I meet the head of the monastery? Where can I find out about it? And he just sort of sat there and answered questions. And he was in an old robe and sandals. And he said, well, if you go knock on the door, they'll let you in and they'll probably feed you. And then you can meet the head monk. Just as simple as that. So he said, oh, okay, well, I'm really focused on that. I've just got to find everything that is right. And then he went in and he waited, and they did give him some food, and they said, well, you know, he'll be here soon, and you can ask him your questions. And pretty soon out came this monk in a very clean robe and looking very, in his saffron robes and looking very profound and peaceful. And he looked at him, and he looked at him, and he said, you were the man outside tending the garden. You were sweeping up the leaves. You were picking up the rubbish. He said, yes, I know. I feel such great joy when that garden is fresh and that people can relax in it. That's actually my life's purpose. So you see, it's not always this profound thing. Now, if you want to find out, you've had this idea. Okay, I think it's this. Well, go do it. Go find out. Stick your toe in it, right? You know, how are you going to find out? How are you going to find out? I had a wonderful country style Cornish grandmother, and she used to have some sayings that have stuck with me. And this is one of my favorites. She said, if you want to know where you are, take your finger, right? Take your finger, put it in the ground, and sniff. If it smells of shit, you should move.
I remember the first time you told me that, it was like, oh my gosh, but it's a good thing to remember, because if it doesn't smell right, if it doesn't feel right, then it's time to move on.
Yeah. And you see, the thing is that, you know, perhaps if you've dedicated yourself to be in service as a priest or as a monk or as a nun or in service as a pastor, perhaps you've gotten in touch with a deep part of you that is different from most of us. But all I know about my purpose is that my overarching purpose is to strengthen the fabric of goodwill. And people say to me, well, what's that? And I said, well, if you think about the world wrapped in a green cloth that represents individuals and societies and cities, it is the goodwill between each of us that holds it together. It's not rules, it's not laws, they help, but they don't hold it together. You see, there are certain parts of the world where there's no goodwill.
Hmm.
In parts of the Middle East, in the parts of the Far East, in parts of Asia, there is conflict. And in North America, there is conflict. There are people shot, there are people killed, but you can see goodwill in action when there's a national emergency.
Hmm.
There's a hurricane coming down on Mexico. People will help each other. There's been a typhoon in Indonesia. People will help each other. Goodwill is not this fancy thing. It is a simple thing. It might be opening the door for someone who's carrying large parcels into a building. So you open up the door. Well, that's an action of goodwill. That's you spending your life energy to help someone else. Got it?
I think you just touched on something that I think is really important. I think we can get confused with purpose and with our careers or what we do as a job. But you just said something really important, that our purpose could be the goodwill, could be the helping, which is totally different from what we do for work.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
See, the thing is people mix up purpose with roles and functions and responsibilities. You know, they think purpose, well, my purpose is to be a mother, or my purpose is to be a good husband, or my purpose is to be good at my job. No, that is an expression of your purpose. That's just an expression. And that expression can change many times. So strengthening the fabric of goodwill, if I teach one person how to communicate in a more effectively loving way, I've strengthened goodwill. If I help someone who's in need by giving them knowledge and tools to get on, that's an expression, and that supports my purpose. In my career, I have been a hairdresser, a public speaker, a makeup artist, a trainer of other public speakers, a workshop leader, a facilitator, and now I'm on a Hangout show. Those are all different expressions of what for me is my purpose, which is to strengthen the fabric of goodwill. If I can tell the truth and inspire someone with what I'm doing and help them, then hey, I'm strengthening the fabric of goodwill, which is what I've chosen to be my purpose. Now I chose it. Nobody gave it to me. It didn't come down handed on 2 tablets with a profound list of things I must or must not do. Purpose is not that way. It's more about, and that's why I don't use the word, purpose, workshop. That's why I say the word life energy, so that I can show people that it is different. It's different. Your expression of what you do changes all the time, right? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I just want to mention Romy Carlin, she's watching, and Don Bowen from Illinois. He says, hi, Geoffrey. Hi, Penny. So hi, Don. Hi, Romy. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, it really does. So, Geoffrey, we're getting close to the end of our 30 minutes. Like, really? Where does the time go? We need to have a continuation of this. So are you willing to come back and talk about this some more? Because you're really touched right now. You've touched on something really important. And like for me, I believe with me doing these Hangouts, it's part of my purpose, and I feel good that I am in some way lifting this life energy in myself and in a subtle, small way to help the planet, and I believe that. So, Geoffrey, I'm going to come back for your final words, and maybe you have something you leave our viewers with to kind of mull over for a little while to see how they can maybe come to find their purpose a little easier. So this is episode 55 of the Hangout with Penny show. Next week, episode 56, I have Daniel Gutierrez. He is a shaman. He is a spiritual leader. He takes retreats to Peru. He's just a fabulous guy. He's author of 3 or 4 books, so we're going to talk about that. And yeah, so it's going to be a great show. And I'm just going to tell you right now, he laughs a lot. So he laughs all the time. So it's going to be a fun show, but you're going to really like it. So that's next week. And yeah, so Geoffrey, come back out, because I love listening to you. What can you leave our viewers with to help them with their purpose?
If you want to start the process of getting in touch with that part of you, here's the best thing I can tell you. It's be yourself. Okay, so that's something only you can do. Nobody else can do it. But what it takes is courage to listen to your inner voice, to listen to your inner energy, to your life energy. And then the big thing, and I think, Penny, you know what I'm going to say, the big thing is to show up and actually be yourself. The more that you'll be yourself, the quicker and faster you'll get in touch with your life energy, which will help reveal the expression of your purpose.
Oh, I love that. This is an invitation for you to come back at a later date, and we're going to continue this conversation, because I know there's so much more that we can touch on. I think you're doing a program, right? You're doing a program on this. So yeah. So everybody, told you it'd be a good show. Lots of things to think about, and yeah, our purpose is important. Geoffrey, say goodbye.
Love you.
Hey, you're used to hair and makeup. How did I do today? Thank you. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching Hangout with Penny, episode 55. My name is Peddie, your host, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.